Think about the last 5 decisions you made today. What you wore, what you ate, which email you opened first. Simple choices, and you, of course, were the one who made them, or were you? What if I told you that when you picked up that specific brand of coffee this morning, the choice was already made for you, long before you even stepped into the store? There's a program running in your brain that you have no control over. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to show you all the times it's betrayed you. See, your mind has a mind of its own. To get through the impossibly complex world around us, it creates shortcuts, mental cheat sheets to make sense of the chaos. These shortcuts are called heuristics, and they're the result of millions of years of evolution. They let you spot a friend in a sea of faces or slam on the brakes just in time. This is your fast, intuitive thinking, what Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman calls System 1. It's always on, humming in the background, making thousands of calls for you every single day, without your permission. But there's a catch. These shortcuts, as efficient as they are often wrong. They're prone to systematic, predictable errors. These errors are called cognitive biases. And they're not mistakes you make because you aren't smart enough or you aren't paying attention. They are fundamental bugs in the source code of human thought, and they affect every single one of us. These biases operate in the shadows, quietly distorting how you see reality, twisting your memories, and dictating your choices. They are the invisible puppeteers pulling your strings, and today we're going to expose them. We're going to look at 5 moments where a hidden force in your mind made a choice you thought was your own. Case study number 1. The anchoring effect. The choice you didn't know was made for you? Let's start with a negotiation. Picture yourself buying a used car. You've done your homework. You know its market value is right around $15,000, and you are determined to get a fair price. You walk into the dealership, and a friendly, confident salesperson shows you the car. It's perfect. Then they drop the line. We've got this one listed at just $19,500. Instantly, something in your brain shifts. That number, $19,500, becomes a mental anchor. Even though you know it's high, every thought you have from this moment on is tied to it. You start negotiating and you feel like you're winning as you chip away at the price. You get them to knock off $1,000, then $2,000. You finally shake hands at $16,500. You drive off the lot feeling proud, like you just won a tough fight. But you didn't win, you lost. Your brain was hijacked the moment that first number left the salesperson's lips. The $19,500 anchor made $16,500 seem like a fantastic deal, even though it was still $1,500 more than you knew the car was worth. This is the anchoring effect, one of the most powerful and sneaky cognitive illusions out there. The very first piece of information we get, a price, a salary offer, even a totally random number, has a massive influence on all our later decisions. Skilled negotiators live and breathe this stuff. A freelance consultant might quote an absurdly high project fee, not because they expect to get it, but to anchor your perception of their value. It makes their final, lower price feel much more reasonable, and it's not just about money. It seeps into every corner of our judgment. Real estate agents will often show you an overpriced, rundown house first. Why? Because every house they show you after that feels like a bargain. Restaurant menus often list a ridiculously expensive dish right at the top. They don't expect to sell many. That dish exists to be an anchor, making the other, still pricey entrees look affordable. The truly scary part? It works even when the anchor is completely random. In a famous study, people were asked to guess the number of African nations in the UN. But first, they watched a wheel of fortune land on a random number. People who saw a high number from the wheel gave way higher estimates than those who saw a low number. A number that had absolutely nothing to do with the question anchored their entire reality. That feeling of control you had in the negotiation, it was an illusion. A story your mind told you while the anchor did all the real work. Case study number 2, confirmation bias, the research that only confirmed what you already believed. Let's move from the car dealership to your computer screen. Think about the last time you fell down an internet rabbit hole, researching a topic you feel strongly about. Maybe it was politics, a new health trend, or a controversial story in the news. You typed your query into Google and started clicking. You read articles, watched videos, scrolled through comments. An hour later, you came up for air, more convinced than ever that you were right. You felt informed, validated, certain. But were you really researching? Or were you just performing a complicated ritual of self-deception? Welcome to the world of confirmation bias. Maybe the most dangerous cognitive illusion of all because it robs us of our ability to learn. Confirmation bias is our natural instinct to look for, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms what we already believe. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we already think it is. And we spend a shocking amount of energy looking for proof that we're right. When you typed in your search, was your language neutral? Or did you phrase it to get the answer you wanted? Something like proof that X is true instead of evidence for and against X? When you saw the results, which links did you click? The ones with headlines that cheered you on or the ones that challenged you? Social media and search algorithms have weaponized this bias. They're designed to give you what you want, and what you want is to feel right. They watch what you click, what you watch, and who you follow, and they build a filter bubble around you. This digital echo chamber feeds you a constant stream of information that agrees with your views, making it feel like your perspective is the only one that matters. The algorithm isn't trying to inform you, it's trying to keep you hooked. And nothing is more addictive than the feeling of being right. This bias isn't just about the big, thorny issues. It affects everything. A manager who thinks an employee is lazy will notice every time they're a minute late, but completely miss all the times they stayed late to finish a project. An investor who's excited about a stock will hunt for positive news and ignore any negative data as just fear-mongering. It stops us from finding the real solution because it stops us from even seeing the real problem. Your research wasn't a journey of discovery. It was a performance, carefully staged by your own mind to protect you from the uncomfortable feeling of being wrong. Case study number 3, the halo effect. The trust you gave away too freely. Now let's talk about people. Imagine 2 candidates are interviewing for the same job. The first one walks in sharply dressed, speaks with confidence, and has a warm, easy smile. They're charismatic, attractive. The second candidate is more plainly dressed, speaks in a quieter, more hesitant voice. But their resume is packed with slightly more experience and stronger qualifications. After the interviews are over, who are you more likely to think is more competent, intelligent, and trustworthy? If you're like most people, your gut will lean toward the first candidate. You might not even be aware of it, but their positive first impression creates a shining halo that makes all of their other qualities look better. This is the halo effect. It's a mental shortcut where our overall impression of a person in one area colors our judgment of them in totally unrelated areas. Because the first candidate was attractive and confident, we unconsciously assume they're also smart, hardworking, and capable. Their positive traits spill over, creating a general aura of goodness that can be dead wrong. This happens everywhere. Studies have shown again and again that attractive political candidates are seen as more knowledgeable, even when they're not. In court, attractive defendants are more likely to be found innocent and get lighter sentences. In the office, an employee who is funny and well-liked might get a better performance review than their work actually deserves, just because their boss's positive feelings create a halo that hides their professional flaws. Brands are masters of this. When a company with a rock-solid reputation, like Apple, launches something new, we automatically assume it's going to be brilliant. The positive halo from the iPhone extends to the Apple Watch before we've even touched it. Companies also do this with celebrity endorsements. They know that if you like and trust an actor, that positive halo will transfer over to their product, making you want to buy it. The reverse is also true. It's called the horn effect. If someone makes a bad first impression, maybe they show up late or make an awkward joke, we're more likely to see everything they do after that through a negative filter. We'll assume their work is sloppy and their intentions are bad. One negative trait casts a shadow over everything else. The halo effect is dangerous because it outsources our trust. Instead of doing the hard work of judging someone's character or a product's quality on its own merits, our brain takes a shortcut. It finds one thing it likes and decides it likes everything. That trust you felt for the charismatic candidate, it wasn't earned. It was given away by a glitch in your own thinking. Case study number 4, the clustering illusion. The pattern that wasn't really there? Imagine you're watching a basketball game. A player on your team has hit her last 4 shots in a row. The announcer shouts, "She's on fire, she's got the hot hand." They gotta keep feeding her the ball. As a fan, you feel it in your bones. You can see the pattern. It's obvious she's in the zone and is way more likely to make her next shot. But what if I told you that, statistically, the hot hand doesn't really exist? This is the clustering illusion, our brain's deep-seated need to see streaks and patterns in totally random events. Our minds are pattern detection machines. It's how our ancestors survived. Seeing patterns in the seasons meant knowing when to plant. Seeing patterns in animal tracks meant food. But this instinct is so strong that we see patterns even when they aren't there. We see faces in clouds and messages in burnt toast. In a world of pure random chance, like flipping a coin, you will always see clusters. You might get 5 heads in a row. Our brain, which hates randomness, scrambles to give it meaning. It thinks, wow, what a streak. Something special is happening. This is tied to another bias called the gambler's fallacy, the mistaken belief that if something happens a lot, it's due to happen less in the future to balance things out. After a run of heads, a gambler feels like tails is coming. Both ideas come from the same basic misunderstanding of how probability works. Every coin flip and every basketball shot is its own independent event. The past has zero influence on the future. This illusion messes with more than just sports and gambling. An investor might see a stock go up for 3 straight days and decide it's a hot stock. So they pour money in right before that random fluctuation corrects itself. A manager looking at sales data might see 2 bad months in one region and conclude the team there is failing, when it's really just a random blip. We invent these elaborate stories to explain the clusters, when the real explanation is much simpler and much more unsettling. It was just chance. The clustering illusion shows how desperate we are to feel in control, how badly we want the world to be predictable. We'll literally invent patterns out of thin air to feel better. That certainty you had about the basketball player, it wasn't insight. It was your brain forcing a comforting but false order onto the beautiful chaos of reality. Case study number 5, the illusion of control. The power you never had? Our last case study gets to the very heart of the problem. Have you ever insisted on picking your own lottery numbers because they felt luckier than the machine's random pick? Have you ever repeatedly mashed the close door button in an elevator, feeling like you were speeding things up? Or worn a lucky shirt to a big interview, believing it could actually change the outcome? If you've done any of these, you've experienced the illusion of control. This is our habit of overestimating our ability to influence events that are completely random. It's the belief that we can impose our will on a situation that is fundamentally up to chance. Gamblers do this when they roll dice softly for a low number and hard for a high one, as if the force of their throw has any say in the outcome. Traders fall for it, believing their special skill lets them outsmart the market's wild swings, which leads to overconfidence and huge risks. This illusion is so tempting because it feels good. It makes us feel safe and less anxious when things are uncertain. Believing we have some power, any power at all, is more comforting than admitting we're helpless. It can even be useful sometimes. A patient who feels they have some control over their recovery by changing their diet, for example, might have a better outlook and stick to their treatment. But the dark side is that this illusion leads to terrible decisions and, worse, self-blame. When we think we're in the driver's seat, we take more risks, convinced we can handle whatever happens. And when things go wrong, as they inevitably do, the illusion turns on us, becoming a source of guilt and regret. We torture ourselves thinking, if only I'd picked different numbers, or if only I'd worn my other shirt. We blame ourselves for things that were never our fault, all because we tricked ourselves into believing they were under our command. That close door button in most modern elevators? It's a placebo. It's often not even hooked up to anything. It's there to give us the illusion of control, to soothe our impatience by giving us something to do. It's a perfect metaphor. We push buttons, perform rituals, and tell ourselves stories, all to hold on to the comforting, but ultimately false, belief that we're the ones in charge. So we've seen how easily your brain can be tricked. The anchoring effect sets your price. Confirmation bias builds your personal reality. The halo effect decides who you trust. The clustering illusion invents patterns from nothing, and the illusion of control gives you a false sense of command. It can feel a little bleak, realizing how many of your choices are being made without your conscious approval. It can feel like you're just a passenger. But awareness is everything. Just knowing these biases exist is the first, most critical step to taking back your power. You can't just delete them, they're wired into our brains, but you can learn to spot them and push back. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman gave us the language for this. It's a battle between our fast, gut-feeling system 1 and our slow, deliberate system 2. Your goal is to learn when to hit the brakes on System 1's autopilot and wake up the deep, analytical thinking of System 2. So how do you actually do that? Here are a few simple things you can start doing today. First, just pause. Before you make a big decision, a purchase, a judgment, a social media post, stop for just 10 seconds. That tiny gap can be enough to interrupt an impulsive reaction and give your rational mind a chance to catch up. Second, actively fight your own assumptions. When you feel a strong opinion forming, go out of your way to find evidence that proves you wrong. Ask yourself, what if I have this completely backward? What's the best argument for the other side? This is the ultimate antidote to confirmation bias. Third, use the 10th of October 10 rule. Ask, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? In 10 months? In 10 years? This simple trick forces you to look past the immediate moment and consider the long-term consequences. Engaging your more rational self. You aren't powerless, you are not a puppet. By understanding these illusions, you are no longer a victim of their invisible influence. You can start to question your instincts, challenge your first impressions, and make choices with your eyes wide open. You can become the architect of your own mind. If this video helped pull back the curtain on your own thinking, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're going to be exploring more of the hidden forces that shape your life in future videos. Thanks for watching.